بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. Respected brothers and elders, mothers and sisters, dear listeners in Islam, all praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who through His infinite grace and mercy and kindness upon us has blessed us with the wealth of Iman, with the kalima La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us with the greatest of prophets, the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who was perfect in every aspect. He was perfect as a human being outside in his appearance, and he was perfect as a human being inside. Hassan bin Thabit radiyallahu ta'ala an, the Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he stood on the mimbar of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he sang words of praise on the outside of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. When he seen Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, وَأَحْسَنَ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَرَقَتْتُ عَيْنِي وَأَجْمَلَ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَلِدِ النِّسَاءُ خُلِقْتَ مُبَرَّأً مِنْ كُلِّ عَيْبٍ كَأَنَّكَ قَدْ خُلِقْتَ كَمَا تَشَاءُ. More beautiful than you. وَأَحْسَنَ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَرَقَتْتُ عَيْنِي. No eye has ever seen someone more beautiful than you, and more handsome than you. No woman has ever given birth to someone like this. وَأَجْمَلَ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَلِدِ النِّسَاءُ خُلِقْتَ مُبَرَّأً مِنْ كُلِّ عَيْبٍ. You have been created without any defect, without any flaw. كَأَنَّكَ قَدْ خُلِقْتَ كَمَا تَشَاءُ. It is as if you created yourself the way you wanted to be created. Every aspect of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was perfect. Wahab bin Munabbih makes mention, Qadi Iyad in his Ash-Shifa, he mentions the narration. He said, I read about more than 70 books on the praise of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which every single one of them made mention about the intellect of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That if intellect was divided in 100 portions, one portion of intellect was given to mankind, and 99 portions of intellect was given to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the akhlaq and the character of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was stamped and approved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guaranteed the akhlaq and the character of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he has the highest and the loftiest akhlaq. With regards to the body of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a blessed hand, who he touched in many occasions, it became the means of their guidance. It became the means of softening their hearts. It became a means for them coming closer into Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's body parts were equal. There was no abnormality on the body of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His hands were full of flesh. It was wide. It was broad. It was very soft, the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A Sahabi says, I touched the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. ما مسست ديباجا ولا حريرا ألين من يد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. I did not touch any silk or silk brocade, something that is soft in its quality, softer than the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This was the softest thing that I ever touched, was the palm of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, I made musafaha. I greeted Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then I went to my wife, and the beautiful aroma and the beautiful smell that came out from the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the smell of musk that remained on my hand for 3 days. For 3 days after I touched the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This was the blessed hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So many occasions the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, through its blessing, brought out barakah. Anas bin Malik radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he states, we were once in the battle. We were far away from Medina Munawwara, and it was the time of Salah. We were in the desert. There was not much water that was available for us to make wudu. The time of Asr set in. When the time of Asr came in, we were many of us, we wanted to perform wudu. Someone had a little water that he had. He brought it to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam put it into a utensil, into a bowl, and that water that was in the bowl, he put his fingers inside the water. The Sahabi says, when I seen his fingers inside the water, the small little amount of water that was there, water started gushing forth from the fingers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Water was coming out from the fingers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That all of us that were present, about 60 to 80 Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in, every single one of them had sufficient amount of water to make wudu from the water that came out from the fingers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The narration states that blessed hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in his entire life, he never hit a child, he never hit a slave, he never lifted his hand ever in his life to hit any of his wives. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not use his hand to hit anyone. The narration states that with his hand, with the blessed hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, never in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he touched the hand of a strange woman, a ghair mahram woman. He did not touch any ghair mahram woman with his hand. The hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was that finger that split the moon. It was a miracle that took place in Makkah Mukarramah when he stood on the mountain and he pointed towards the moon when everyone gathered around him, and through the miracle of the finger of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he split the moon in half. That half of the moon went on the one side of the mountain and the other half of the moon went on the other side of the mountain. In the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was going out in the path of Allah. One Sahabi, he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his leg was broken. He was in the path of Allah. His shin broke because he fell off from the horse. He came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him what happened. He said, I was riding my horse, I fell off my horse, I broke my leg. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam put his hand on the leg of the Sahabi, and the broken portion of his leg was cured immediately. The broken portion that was on his leg, it was cured immediately. Handala radiyallahu ta'ala an, he says, I was a youngster, I came in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I had some swelling on my head. I had some swelling, it was some injury that had taken place. My father came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and my father said, O Nabi of Allah, my son is very sick. He's going through this difficult condition. Can you please make dua for him? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he made dua for this person, Handala radiyallahu ta'ala an. He put his hand, the blessed hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on this Sahabi's head, on Handala radiyallahu anhu's head, and that swelling was cured. Not only it was cured, Handala radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he states, wherever I would go in my entire life, if someone else had swelling, if someone else was sick, and they had a wound or they had some swelling on their head, they would come to me and they would say, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam cured your swelling, can you cure our swelling? He said, I would take my hand and put it on the same place where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam placed it on my head, and on the same place I would put it on my head. Then I would touch that person's body, and because of this, that person would become cured. Even if it was a human being would be cured. And if they brought to me an animal, that animal was affected and it had a swollen portion on its body, the animal's swollen portion would also be cured. Anas radiallahu anhu was a young boy. Mishkat Sharif Jaldathani's narration, he says, I was a young boy. I grew up in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I had a little long hair. My mother came to me and my mother said, my mother was asking, why don't you cut your hair? Then his mother said, I will not cut this hair. This blessed hair of Anas, my son, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to put his hand through my hair, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to hold my hair, playing with the young child and putting his hand through the hair. Because of that, Anas radiyallahu ta'ala, his mother said, I will not cut the hair of my son. Qatada bin Milhan radiyallahu ta'ala an, he was in the battle of Uhud with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the battle of Uhud, the rumor went out that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was killed. The rumor went out, and the Sahaba, they started going in different directions. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was kind of by himself. One person, he threw a boulder, he threw a big rock on the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It hit Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He fell down in the ditch. He was injured. A few Sahaba came around Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to protect Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then one Sahabi came by the name of Qatada bin Milhan radiyallahu ta'ala an, and he was protecting Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Arrows were coming, people were striking when they were shooting the arrows, they were throwing spears. As he turned around, while he was protecting Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, one stray arrow came, and the arrow shot him in his eye socket. It went into his eye, into the eye socket. When it went into the eye, his eyeball came out from the socket, and it rolled on his cheek. So when he turned around, and he looked at Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Oh Qatada, what happened to your eye?" He said, "A stray arrow came, it hit me directly in my eye, and my eyeball is hanging on my cheek." Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, with his blessed hand, the Mubarak blessed hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he took the eyeball, he put it back into the socket, and Qatada bin Milhan radiyallahu ta'ala says, "I could see perfectly with this eye. To the old time when I was in my later portion in my life, in the later portion when I was aged, it was difficult to see with the other eye, but the eye that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam put back, I could see perfectly." His son used to say the story. His son would tell the people in the later generation, and he would say, "Anabnu alladhi salat ala al-khaddi aynuhu, faruddat bi kaffi al-Mustafa ahsanu al-raddi, fa'adat kama kanat li awwali marratin, faya husna ma ayni, wa ya husna ma kaffi." He used to tell the people in the later portion, he said, "Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? Anabnu alladhi salat ala al-khaddi aynuhu." I am the son of that person whose eyeball came out from its socket and was rolling on his cheek. I am the son of that person. What pride that this was the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that gave it cure. Anabnu alladhi salat ala al-khaddi aynuhu, faruddat bi kaffi al-Mustafa ahsanu al-raddi. It was put back in the socket with the hand of Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam in the best of ways. فَعَادَتْ كَمَا كَانَتْ لِأَوَّلِ مَرَّةٍ. It returned back to the way it was in the beginning, and better than that. فَيَا حُسْنَ مَا عَيْنِي. What a beautiful eye. But he said it's not the beauty of the eye. It's not only the beauty of the eye. فَرُدَّتْ بِكَفِّ الْأَحْسَنِ الرُّدِّ فَعَادَتْ كَمَا كَانَتْ لِأَوَّلِ مَرَّةٍ فَيَا حُسْنَ مَا كَفِّي فَيَا حُسْنَ مَا عَيْنِي وَيَا حُسْنَ مَا كَفِّي. But it's actually the beauty of the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam that was utilized to put that eyeball back into its socket. This was the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam when he went for hijrah from Mecca to Medina. He was with Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala an. He passed by one place where Ma'bad was living. She was from the Khuza'a tribe. She had some animals. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked her, "Can I have some milk from your sheep that you have?" She said, "I have such a lean sheep. It's so weak, it does not have any milk." "How is it possible you're going to get milk from a weak, lean sheep like this?" Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Bring the sheep." The sheep was brought, and the blessed hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam touched the udders of the sheep, and milk came out. And the whole bucket of milk was taken out, and she drank from the milk. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam drank from the milk. Abdullah bin Urayqit, who was with them as their guide, he drank from the milk. Amir bin Fuhaira, who was with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the journey, they all drank from this lean sheep that did not have the potential and possibility of giving milk, but because of the blessed hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, milk came out from the udders of the sheep of Ma'bad. Salman Farsi radiyallahu ta'ala an, he wanted freedom. His master told him, "I'll give you freedom if you can plant these seeds in the ground." They were seeds that could make palm trees to give dates. I want these seeds to be planted, but he gave them dead seeds. The Jewish master, the Jewish person gave them dead seeds that cannot grow. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took those dead seeds, he said, "Plant and make 300 holes where we will put the seeds in." He put those dead seeds from the Jewish person into the ground, and those seeds brought out the sprout, and the tree grew, and dates came on those same trees. And until today, the garden of Salman Farsi is present in Medina Munawwara. It was the blessed hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One Sahabi, a young boy, he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look at the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Jarir bin Abdullah radiallahu anhu used to fall off the horse. He could not sit on the horse. He came to complain to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he put his hand on his chest and he made dua for him. He said, Allahumma thabbithu waj'alhu hadiyan mahdiya. Oh Allah, you make him firm. You let him sit on the horse. When he sits on the horse, he should not fall off. And make him a means that he is a means of guidance to others and he is rightly guided. Because of the dua of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Jarir bin Abdullah said, after that I never ever fell off a horse. The young Sahabi came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, O Nabi of Allah, permit me to make zina. O Nabi of Allah, I ask you permission to make zina. Imagine someone comes to us with this request, I want to make zina. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam called the youngster close by and explained to him, would you like someone to make zina with your mother? He said no. Would you like someone to make zina with your sister? He said no. Would you like someone to make zina with your daughter? He said no. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then put his hand on the chest of this young boy. It was the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that changed this youngster's mindset. He came with the intention to make zina. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allahumma khfir dhanbah, Allahumma khfir dhanbah, wa hassin farjah, wa tahhir qalbah. Oh Allah, you forgive his sins. You make him a person that his private parts are with chastity. And oh Allah, you cleanse his heart. This Sahabi, when he says, I went away, the most hated thing in my sight was to make zina. It was the hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that was the blessing that brought all of this into existence. That's why we have to bring the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in our life. To love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to love the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to love the practice of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If it could bring blessings in their lives, if we bring it in our lives, it will bring blessing in our life. It will bring blessing in our homes. It will bring blessing in our things. It will bring blessing in our entire existence. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq of understanding.